Whoa! Once again, whew, arriving by a boom tube. It's me, your host, Wallace, and I'm here for another episode of In the Library of Graphic Literature. I'm not wearing a hat this week. I thought I'd just go wild and woolly. And this is for you, Sophia, because she likes me going like this, woo, chasing around like a zombie. So, let's talk about some books. Some hardcover books, some books, and even more books. First of all, we'll start with some new stuff. And of course, I've already forgotten where I put my X-Acto blade for opening up these things. Hang on a second, here it is, way over here. So anyway, this week we did get our comics in on time, thank God, and I got a few things here to show you. I also have a cup of tea here. Love tea, especially Earl Grey tea. As you can see, this mug is a bit beaten up and, you know, a bit worse for wear and tear, but I'll use it until it absolutely falls apart. Okay, so what are we going to look at first here today? Okay, look at this. The Golden Age Superman. This is another great omnibus from the good folks at DC Comics. I love their new omnibus format. You get a lot of comics for your buck, and it's actually not a bad price either. I kind of like the design on the cover too, and how they've kept. I don't know if you can see them up behind me there. They've kept it looking nice and uniform for most of this run. And if the DC archives are any indication, maybe they'll continue keeping this as the established look for it. So this covers, as it says here on the back, Action Comics 86 to 105, Superman 34 to 43, and World's Finest Comics 19 to 25. So yeah, so it's a lot of great Golden Age stuff. There's some people who aren't. I'm a big Golden Age fan. When I was a kid, in the 70s, and first reading, of course, everything from your Neil Adams to your Jim Repair and all the cool new hip guys, when I would look at Golden Age books and all that, of course, I was a kid and I used to think, oh God, this work sucks. Oh, Jesus, this is terrible, blah, blah, blah. But slowly, you know, I would find things that, even from the Golden Age, that I liked, like Vigilante, you know, the Mort Meskin one. And some other ones who was just like, hey, were actually a few people back in the Golden Age who could actually draw. Now in this one here we have Sam Citron. Sounds like a bit of a lemon there. Let's see, Ian Yarborough, Ira Yarborough, I mean. Joe Shuster, still a little bit of Joe Shuster even at this point here. Peter Riss, Ira Yarborough, more Yarborough, and Ed Dubrovka, John Skelly, and a few others. Anyway, but a good mixture of classic Superman. I'll give you a close up here of it. Like I say, it's not for some people. You know, some people are really like, you know, modern artwork and, you know, don't like the crude drawing style in some of them and all that. But I really started to fall in love with Golden Age stuff, especially a lot of stuff having to do with gangsters and all that type of stuff back then. And then as I got older and older, I just started to fall more and more in love with the Golden Age. I guess it was, you know, stuff like the All-Star comics. I really began to love the old Sandman, the old Dr. Fate. I started really like some of the the older stuff. And then I realized after more and more years of reading all that, hey, this stuff is actually pretty cool. So now I've actually become a bit of a Golden Age fanatic. Okay, onwards and upwards. Here from Omni Press we have Soulwind from Scott Morse, his classic. Now, this I wasn't sure of at all. You know, if I would get it. You know, it's from the late '90s, early 2000s, and I mean, a lot of people seem to like this, and I'd seen some pictures of the artwork. Now, I haven't read this book yet, but I mean, it looked pretty cool to me. And even looking through it here now, it has sort of a really nice look to it. I like that shadow work in there. So, well, Scott, from my first exposure to your work, it's looking good. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to reading this book. And it has, of course, a really nice cloth cover to it with an embossed title there. And you can really see it there. And anyway, here's some of the artwork. Beautiful, isn't it? I like the simplicity of it too. Kind of reminds me in some ways of a mixture between several different people. Paul Pope, maybe a little bit of Matt Kint, a little bit of Jeff Lemire. But yeah, and even a little almost hit of James Kochalka thrown in there. So yeah, so this looks actually pretty good. So yeah, that's definitely going to go onto the reading stack. Let's see what else. Oh, here we go. This was one of the really good ones this week. Superstar European SF and fantasy comic artist Enki Bilal revisits the Louvre in 22 portraits. He imagines 22 fates of men, women, and children whose lives have been affected by a work of art. So it sounds pretty cool. I've loved Enki Bilal since I first came across his work in heavy metal and all that. Now this seems to be just a lot more of portraits. Oh, okay, it's actually not as much of a comic book as it is sort of a nice little art book there with a bit of talk about different pieces of art and then drawings to go along with them. So I guess this really isn't a comic book as such, but more of an art book. But it being Enki, I'll add it to the collection anyway. Phantoms of the Louvre. Sounds kind of cool anyway. And possibly my favorite book this week, and it all has to do with the author too himself, is the Michael Moorcock Library, The Chronicles of Corum, The Knight of the Swords. Have a look at that. This has artwork by the great Mike Mignola, and looks absolutely fabulous. He's it only as I flipped through this, it was only then that I realized that, my God, this Mignola is actually perfect for doing some of Moorcock's work. Of course, to me, one of the best interpreters of Michael Moorcock's work has been P. Craig Russell. And then I wasn't aware that they had actually done Corum in a comic book series, but then I remembered it was first. Oh yeah, here it is, even in back. First Comics. So yeah, it looks and it looks great. I love, like I say, I love Mike Mignola's work, of course, and but more than that is I'm a big fan of Michael Moorcock's work. I was a big fan growing up of Elric, and then I began to read like when I came across him in Conan, and then I read some of the novels. I read Behold a Man, then I started reading more of Moorcock's work, the Dancers at the End of Time, the Jerry Cornelius stuff, and it's absolutely amazing. The books themselves, the prose books, if you can still find them, I know it's very hard these days to find books by Michael Moorcock out there, but if you can find them, they're fabulously imaginative. Dancers at the End of Time had to be one of the most imaginative books that I'd ever come across in my young life when I was reading fantasy is really what this is. And also loved his another novel of his, Gloriana, which I do believe is mentioned somewhere in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen somewhere. But just an amazing author. Michael Moorcock, he's worth at least 4 or 5 kisses this volume. So I can't wait for the next few. One of them, actually, they will be coming out with is it the Flowers of Heaven, the something of Hell. It's kind of small here, but it's actually a book coming up here. Maybe they have it inside here. No, they don't. But it's an upcoming volume, and it's actually by featuring a story by Howard Chaykin that I bought as a kid, and so I kind of love these little the little Moorcock library from Titan Books. The only problem with that, the only thing that I don't like about this is that they're glued bindings. They're not sewn. Titan. If there's someone worth a sewn binding in this world, it is Mr. Michael Moorcock. Now, that's about all the new stuff I have there for you this week. But I thought, I was glancing through my library there, and I looked up and I thought, maybe I'll have a yak on about some archive editions. So I dug out actually 4 books, 2 of each of some of my favorites from the DC Archive Editions line. I have most of them. I think I have every DC Archive edition except for 12, I think it is. So if anyone wants to donate them to me here, I'll be more than happy to take them. So, first off anyway, is this, the Action Heroes, the DC Archives. This basically is the Ditko's Carlton superheroes. So basically there's Captain Atom, the Blue Beetle, sort of more the classic Blue Beetle. I don't really like the new Blue Beetle. I love the Ditko's version. I mean, with the craft, with the his beetle craft, the whole thing. It was just super cool. And he's actually who they based Night Owl on in the Watchmen. Here's Captain Atom, of course, who was the inspiration for Dr. Manhattan. And there he is with a new costume. There's the Blue Beetle again. Love the Blue Beetle. Like I said, that craft of his was so cool. And here you go, more Captain Atom. They switched Captain Atom's uniform then. And here he is again. To me, the Blue Beetle will always be this Blue Beetle. I just love that super cool ship of his. So this is one of my all-time favorite, because I'm a huge Ditko fan. This is one of my all-time favorite collections. Also has the Question, which is also another one of my favorite characters by Mr. Ditko. Absolutely worth every penny. Some black and white stuff and all that. So this was volume. Oh no, that's volume 2 I was looking at. I was wondering why Captain Atom's outfit seemed to change so subtly. But anyway, this is the volume 1 of it. That was volume 2. It's I think of all the books in the archive set, this one packs the most punch. I love every single page in both of these volumes. So here's another closer look at a little bit of Mr. Ditko's great work. I kind of like that old costume, that old Captain Atom costume. But yeah, I was a big Captain Atom fan growing up. I can remember buying them as a kid. Not as much of a fan as I was of Blue Beetle, but I still liked Captain Atom. So this one actually is primarily Captain Atom, where the other one does have Blue Beetle and the question involved. And also it's a much thicker book. I mean, look at that, right? This you could beat someone to death with this one. But well, no, this one was a little bit more expensive. This one was 50 American. This one was 75. But worth every penny, because it's chock-a-block with Ditko goodness. Okay, and last but not least here to have a look at, in my look here at the archive editions, I really love the archive editions. They were really one of the first. Them and the Masterworks were really what got me into collecting hardcover books and all that. I'd started collecting them really after I had a comic book store called the Daily Planet for a few years here in St. John's, Newfoundland. When I closed it up, I had a lot of hardcover books left over, and I basically sold off my childhood collection, all my comics. I had a huge collection of Silver Age stuff, and over 4 years I sold every bit of it. So once I closed up my store, it was just like I was used to having this huge collection around me, and suddenly I was bereft of comics, and it was so weird. But you know, I still had a couple of these, couple of Masterworks and some DC archives, and I just slowly started to collect them, and you know, one by one, and then the next thing I started collecting all their stuff, and it just got to get totally out of control. But the DC archives, a series that is now, I'm assuming is now dead and buried, unfortunately. They were a great little series of books from DC, and they basically they're very similar to the Masterworks in the way they had about 10 issues worth of comics in them, and beautifully printed too. I got to say that the printing on a lot of these is incredible. Looking at the artwork. Now this one, of course, is the A's, you know, from Action Heroes. I chose to have a look at the Atom. I can actually remember as a child, like 3 and 4 years old, reading Atom comics and Green Lantern comics. These are the comics that actually taught me how to read. By the time I got into kindergarten, because of comic books, I could read and write. I somehow learned it all on my own. I don't know how, but I managed to make the connection. So that's why these hold a very, very special place in my heart. And also too because this is all done by the super talented Gil Kane, who I was always a huge fan of growing up. Look at that caney goodness. So great Silver Age stuff here. So if you're a fan of the Silver Age, this is a must-have. Or if you're a fan of Gil Kane himself, also good to pick up. A lot of these too were inked by Murphy Anderson, and I know that besides myself, there's a lot of Murphy Anderson fans out there. So if you're a fan of him, these, like I say, besides being a fan of Kane, if you're a fan of Murphy Anderson, these are the books to get. The second volume also has actually a lot of Kane and work by Kane and Anderson, right? Beauty, isn't it? Gil Kane had some of the best visual flow of any comic book artist that I can think of. Just, you look at it and he was able to drag your eye from panel to panel to panel, right in the start of the page and right out at the bottom. So absolutely top-notch man. Gil Kane, comic book god in my mind. So that's 4 of my favorite DC archives, and there's a lot of them still yet to come. I'll have a look at some more of those in future episodes, and I will have another look at another Marvel Masterworks series coming up soon. And I think over the next few weeks too, I might even start looking at some comic strips. So I'll dig out some stuff from my Library of American Comics and some of my Fantagraphics ones and share them with you. So I guess that's it really for me here today. I'll see you folks same time, same bat channel next week. And that being said, I'll just boom tube my way out of here. What? Bing? Yeah? Okay, you're gonna take me out? Okay, okay. Whoa, bye!